Imagine this. A lone ship drifting through the vast open ocean, its sails full and billowing in the wind, yet no one at the helm. No crew, no captain, just a silent, ghostly vessel gliding through the water, abandoned. This is the Mary Celeste, one of the greatest mysteries of the sea, and today we're diving deep into its haunting story. What happened to its crew? Where did they go? And why was the ship left in such a strange, unsettling state? Before we dive deeper into this chilling mystery, we have a small request for you. We've put a lot of effort into creating this video, and it would mean the world to us if you could like and subscribe to our channel. Please help us to get this video to 100 likes. Let me take you back to the year 1872. It was December 5th, and they were sailing smoothly through the chilly waters off the coast of the Azores, a group of islands in the North Atlantic. The day had been uneventful. Just another long stretch of open sea. But then, just on the horizon, a shape appeared, a ship, drifting alone, its sails full and catching the wind. As they drew closer, they realized something was wrong. Captain Morehouse, the captain of the Dei Gratia, recognized the ship instantly. It was the Mary Celeste, a sturdy American merchant vessel captained by a man he knew well, Captain Benjamin Briggs. They had crossed paths before, exchanged stories over a drink. But seeing the Mary Celeste like this, all alone, no sign of life on board, after weeks of its disappearance, it sent a shiver through them. The Dei Gratia approached cautiously, wondering what could have happened. The ship was adrift, but looked perfectly sound. The sails were intact, the rigging secure, but there was an eerie silence that hung over it, a strange stillness that made them feel uneasy. Captain Morehouse decided they had to board the ship and see for themselves. As they prepared to climb aboard, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something unnatural, something that didn't belong out here in the open sea. When Captain Morehouse and his crew boarded the Mary Celeste, they were struck by how everything seemed oddly intact. The ship was in nearly perfect condition, with no visible signs of damage. The sails were set, the rigging was secure, and the ship was clearly seaworthy. But as they ventured further, what they found became even more puzzling. Down below in the hold, the cargo was still in place. There were over 1,700 barrels of alcohol, ethanol meant for industrial use, all neatly stowed, none of it spilled. The ship's cargo was intact, untouched. It was as if the crew had just left in a hurry, but nothing had been disturbed, not even the valuable goods. In the captain's cabin, everything appeared to be in order. His logbook was open to the last entry, and his personal items, like clothes and documents, were still where they had been left. They moved on, exploring the galley, and found plates of half-eaten food on the table, a warm pot of coffee left sitting untouched. But there were no signs of the crew. It was as if they had vanished mid-task, with no sign of struggle or panic. Even more strange, the ship's lifeboat was gone, but there was no trace of violence or disorder anywhere. There was enough food and water left behind to last for weeks, and yet there was no one in sight, and no clue as to where the crew had gone. It was as if the Mary Celeste had been abandoned for no apparent reason, with everything left behind. Before the Mary Celeste was found drifting alone, she had set off on a routine voyage from New York City. The ship had left port on November 7th, 1872, bound for Genoa, Italy. On board was Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their young daughter, and a crew of 7 men. Everything seemed normal, just another day at sea, with calm weather and a steady course ahead. But as the days passed, something began to feel off. Captain Briggs, a seasoned sailor, had a reputation for being meticulous and prepared. He had taken every precaution for the journey, ensuring that the Mary Celeste was fully stocked with provisions, including food and water to last for months, as well as barrels of industrial alcohol in the hold. The crew had set a steady pace, and everything appeared to be going according to plan. The ship was progressing smoothly, and Captain Briggs regularly made entries in his logbook. But by the time November 24th rolled around, something had changed. The ship had gotten off course, veering much further south than intended, into a more treacherous stretch of the Atlantic. When Morehouse and his crew went on board to check things out, what they found was, well, weird. The ship was in almost perfect shape. All the cargo was there, all the crew's belongings were in place, and there was even food on the table. But not a single person was there. It was as if the crew had just vanished into thin air. We are talking about 10 persons here. This is seriously very strange. When the Mary Celeste was brought back to port, everyone felt something was wrong. The crew of the Dei Gracia and the authorities who started to investigate couldn't make sense of what they found. The more they looked, the more confusing it became. Questions piled up, and no one could find answers. Was something bad done to the crew? Was there foul play? The Dei Gracia crew, who had found the ship, became suspects. They were the first to board the Mary Celeste, so people wondered if they had something to do with the crew's disappearance. After all, they were the ones who found the ship, but there was no sign of the crew or any explanation for what happened. But after a deep investigation, no evidence showed that the Dei Gracia crew was involved. There was no violence, no sign of a fight, and no reason to think they caused the crew's disappearance. Still, the mystery deepened. Then there was the missing lifeboat. This wasn't just a small detail, it made everything even stranger. Had the crew used the lifeboat to escape in a hurry? If so, why was it never found? No lifeboat was spotted in the water, and no one knew where it had gone. What happened to it? Theories started forming, but they only made things more confusing. After looking at the evidence closely, it seemed the lifeboat had probably been carried away by waves, not used on purpose by the crew. But the fact that it was missing, along with the rest of the ship being in perfect condition, made the mystery even creepier. As the mystery of the Mary Celeste deepened, people began to search for answers in every possible direction. With no clear explanation from the evidence, theories started to emerge. Each one tried to piece together the strange clues left behind by the abandoned ship. From natural disasters to human error, the possibilities were endless, but none could fully explain the disappearance of the crew. Now let's dive into some of the most intriguing and eerie theories that have been suggested over the years, each one offering a unique and chilling view of what might have happened. One of the first ideas people had about what happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste was that maybe there had been a mutiny. The theory suggests that the crew, perhaps unhappy with Captain Briggs, staged an uprising against him. Maybe things turned violent, and in the chaos, the crew ended up abandoning the ship. However, when investigators boarded the Mary Celeste, they didn't find any signs to support this idea. The ship was in almost perfect condition. No broken furniture, and no sign of a fight or struggle anywhere. If there had been a mutiny, there would likely have been some evidence of violence, especially considering the size of the crew. 8 men in total, but nothing like that was found. This makes the mutiny theory seem unlikely, as it doesn't explain why the ship was abandoned without a trace of trouble or conflict. Another theory that was considered has to do with the barrels of industrial alcohol that were stored in the Mary Celeste's hold. Some people believe that one of the barrels might have leaked, releasing dangerous fumes. The crew could have become afraid that the ship was at risk of exploding or catching fire, which caused them to panic and abandon the ship quickly. However, when investigators looked closely at the barrels, they found no evidence of leakage or damage. The barrels were perfectly intact. This made the alcohol leak theory seem less likely, as there was no proof to support the idea that fumes had caused any danger or panic among the crew. While it was a reasonable explanation at first, further investigation ruled it out. Pirates were a real fear for ships traveling through the Atlantic during the 19th century, and because of this, one of the first theories to emerge was that pirates might have attacked the Mary Celeste. Some suggested that the crew was either killed by pirates or forced to abandon ship under threat. After all, pirates often targeted ships for their valuable cargo, and the Mary Celeste was carrying a load of alcohol, which was in high demand at the time. However, this theory doesn't hold up when we look at the facts. When investigators boarded the ship, they found no signs of a struggle or any indication that pirates had been on board. There was no blood, no broken furniture, and the ship's valuable cargo was still untouched. If pirates had attacked, they would have taken the alcohol or left some signs of violence. Since none of that was found, it's unlikely that pirates were involved. This theory starts to lose its credibility when you look at the condition of the ship and the fact that nothing was stolen. The paranormal or supernatural theory. As strange as it sounds, some people have suggested that the Mary Celeste was the victim of something supernatural or paranormal. This theory has its roots in the eerie mystery of the ship's abandonment and the fact that no one has ever been able to explain what happened to the crew. Some believe that a curse had befallen the ship, possibly because of an ancient curse on the vessel or even because of a ghostly presence on board. The idea that the ship might have been haunted or affected by supernatural forces came from the fact that the Mary Celeste was discovered without its crew, and no one could figure out what had happened. Some even thought that the crew might have been scared away by something they couldn't see, something beyond human understanding. However, despite these spooky ideas, there is no solid evidence to support any kind of supernatural explanation. The theory is more of a legend that grew around the mystery of the ship, fueled by the strange and unexplained nature of the event. As thrilling as the idea of a ghost ship sounds, it remains more of a story than a plausible explanation. The mystery only deepened. The disappearance of the crew remains one of the most puzzling maritime mysteries of all time. And despite many theories and much speculation, the truth of what happened to the Mary Celeste may never be known. If you enjoyed diving into the mystery of the Mary Celeste, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future explorations into the world's most bizarre and intriguing mysteries. We love hearing from you, so drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. Your support helps us bring more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.